We're so done with new year, new you. This year, it's more you on Bumble. More of you shamelessly sending playlists, especially that one filled with show tunes. More of you finding Geminis because you know you always like them. More of you dating with intention because you know what you want. And you know what? We love that for you. Someone else will too. Be more you this year and find them on Bumble.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. And today we're going to be talking about being a teenager because it's a really tricky time of your life. And I have a very broad audience on the podcast. I have people in their 80s that listen. I have people who are 8 that listen. So if you're listening to this, you're probably either going to be a teenager one day, a teenager at the moment, or have been a teenager in the past, or maybe are a parent or a grandparent of a teenager. Now, I thought in today's episode I could give you some big sisterly advice, but also chat about what I was like as a teenager and tell you some funny stories along the way. And if you've been a teenager before, we can look back on this and be like, "Cool, I'm glad that part of my life is over." It sounds mean, but I'm glad that I don't have to go through those struggles. So anyway, before we begin, I want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, Redpost. Redpost is an equestrian and country store based in the UK, but they also ship all over the world. And did you know that on their socials, they do something called Win It Wednesdays? So be sure to go and follow them on their socials and go and check out their giveaways, because they do a giveaway every single week on a Wednesday. But anyway, go and check them out at redpostequestrian.co.uk, and let's get into today's episode. So yes, as we all know, being a teenager is difficult. I am now, if you want to know, 23. So it was exactly almost 10 years ago that I became a teenager. And obviously, being a teenager, that is a wide variety of ages when you think about it, because a 13-year-old is very different to a 19-year-old. Because I also... 19 is, you are still a teenager, even though you're technically an adult. You've got teen at the end of your age, so I'm gonna count 19 as a teenager as well. But anyway, there are lots of different topics. I have planned today's episode. If you're wondering, I'm actually pre-recording quite a few podcasts because in January I am going away. Normally in my podcast I chat about kind of like my week-to-week life of interesting, funny stories, ways I've embarrassed myself this week, honestly, most of the time. So yeah, that still happens even into your 20s. But I'm pre-recording a few things, and I thought this would be a really fun one to go through because I am an eldest daughter. I was the firstborn child. I was the first kid to become a teenager, to go to secondary school, learn all the difficult ways. I never had like a big sister to look up to or to help me with advice. So yeah, with all of this advice, again, take it with a pinch of salt. This is just my own opinion. Take what you will. But yeah, these are the things that I wish I would have told my younger self when I was becoming a teenager, starting secondary school. Also, secondary school in the UK starts at 11. I know that there are some schools where I'm pretty sure it starts at 13, where you're in year 9. But the one that I went to, you start in year 11. So for me, that was actually a really big step because I went from a very small village primary school where I think there were only like 8 of us, and not 8, 80. There were only 80 of us in the whole school. And in my year group, I think the most amount of people in my year group was 12. And there was only, at one stage, there was only one boy in my year group. So often our class, so for example, when I was in year 4, we also had year 3 with us together. And yeah, in the UK, we say year rather than grade. I know in America, you guys have grades out there. But anyway, so just a little background. So I went from very small village primary school to secondary school. I was going to say in the city, it wasn't a city, in a town, which I went from, a school where there were 80 of us to a year group where there were 80 of us, which actually looking back compared to some of my friends that went to different schools, 80 in a year group is actually very small. I know some people were like, oh yeah, there's about 200, 300 people in my year group at school, and that seems absolutely wild to me. So anyway, it was a big jump. I went from a primary school where everybody was friends to secondary school where there was a hierarchy of the popular girls. And if you couldn't tell, if you look at me, be like, oh, she's a horse girl that did social media in school. Yep, I was one of the weirdos. So don't worry. I'm gonna tell you some interesting stories about being the outcast at secondary school. But anyway, what else have I got on my little thing? Because that's kind of the background. Oh yeah, first off, enjoy being a kid. I think, especially in today's society, a lot of teenagers are on social media. They're often look up to people who are older than them. Hello, I might be one of them. I don't want to be that person, but enjoy being a kid, honestly. And this might be like, oh, but Esme, that's so difficult to say. You don't have to go to school anymore. You run your own business. That sounds really fun. And yes, I'm very grateful to be in the position I am. But still, you have a lot of responsibilities when you're an adult that you don't really think about when you're younger. I don't want to be patronising at all, but the best way I can describe it is, I remember, this is the first time I realised, oh, growing up isn't actually always as fun as you think. Because I remember being in year 2, I think it was, at school. So I wasn't even that old. I must have been like 7, maybe 7, 8, something like that. And I remember the year 1s, because again, our year groups were together at school. The year 1s, they had extra playtime because they'd only just come out of reception or kindergarten. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, how come they get extra playtime? And my teacher was like, well, they're younger than you. And you have to go and do your spellings now. And I was like, what? How come I have to do my spellings and they get to play? And that's when I realised, oh my goodness, when you get older, you get less time to play. And that is not okay. Anyway, so that's the best way I could describe it. So if you're a teenager, enjoy being young, because you don't have to worry. Well, some people do, which I was very, very lucky when I grew up as a teenager that I still got to be a kid and play and all that kind of stuff. And I know that some teenagers and some children out there don't have it as easy. So I just want to put that out there. But I didn't have to worry about working a job when I was 13. I mean, I did help look after friends' pets and guinea pigs and muck out horses and things for a bit of pocket money. But I was no way at all, having this responsibility of putting food on the table and cooking my meals and cleaning the house. So I mean, I did have chores, don't get me wrong. You have to put your kids to work sometimes. But to, get used to responsibility and that kind of thing. But the majority of the time, that wasn't my main responsibility. That was my parents. So, number 1, enjoy being a kid. Enjoy playing as well. I remember getting to a stage being like, oh, I really enjoy playing this game on my computer, but I feel like it's a little bit babyish now, or I feel like I'm maybe getting a little bit too old for it, but I really enjoy playing it. I don't care. People didn't care. They're not worrying about you. And that's one piece of advice that I would give, is that people are selfish. And do you know who they're worrying about and who they're caring about most in their life? Themselves. They don't care what you do. They don't care what you wear. So enjoy being a kid. Enjoy playing while you can. And that's my first piece of advice. Number 2. Now, when you become a teenager, I don't want to make this awkward. This is not going to become into a PSHE lesson. I don't actually know what that. I can't even remember what that stands for. That's what we call it in the UK. It's like, what? Wait, I'm gonna have to search this up.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadline so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hey, Atlanta. Say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/smallbusiness or visit an Apple store to learn more.
PSHE, according to the UK government, stands for Personal, Social, Health and Economic Education. So there we go. Basically, that was kind of like life skills at school. So don't worry, I'm not going to be doing a whole PSHE lesson about what happens to you with puberty and you become a teenager. But that's for your parents and for school to teach you. That is not my job. Anyway, I'm sure you'll learn what you need to learn. But anyway, when you do get older, one thing that I would just like to put out there, because I was a little bit of a late bloomer, and I wish somebody had told me, like, Esme, it doesn't matter. Everybody grows at different rates. Everyone gets taller at different rates. I remember at school, also, you will probably have this happen, where all of the girls that are really tall, some of them will continue being tall and they've just got the tall genes, but some of them at maybe 13 will just stop growing. I remember our netball team had a massive shift at my secondary school, because there were all these girls that were they were the shooters, they were the tall people, and they just stopped growing at a certain age. And that does happen with girls. So there we go. There might be a real shift. But anyway, I was a very late bloomer, late developer in many different ways. So do not worry. Everyone grows at different rates. Everyone, becomes a woman at different rates. Also, I do know that there are boys that listen to this podcast as well. So don't worry. This isn't going to be about girly stuff. Don't worry. Also, the dads that listen to this as well. Don't worry. My dad's listening as well. I'm not making anything uncomfortable. He's helped me record this. That sounds really creepy. My dad is listening. My dad is always listening. Anyway, no, not like that. But anyway, so yeah, just want to put that out there. Also, yeah, it is normal for your boy. Okay, no, I'm making this sound really awkward. Cool, I'm not ready to be a mum one day, that's for sure. Anyway, your body's gonna change, and that is okay. Everybody is different. Everybody has different shaped bodies, and that is fine. So just want to put that out there. Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to skincare, because that is one thing that a lot of teenagers, when they grow up, they get acne. And I have learned a lot of things about skincare over the years, and I think social media, this is my personal opinion, but social media does have, like, oh, if you have bad skin, you need to buy this, you need to do this, you need to buy this, and it's like, whoa, slow down. Some random teenage girl or some random girl in her 20s selling you a certain face wash, that might work for her, but it might not work for you, because in this world, everybody is different and things work for different ways. So obviously there are some things that you can do to try and have healthier skin. For example, eating well, drinking plenty of water, sleeping well. Sleep is a really big thing. And when you're a teenager, obviously you're growing. So try and get as much sleep as you can. That doesn't mean roll out of bed 5 minutes before you need to go to school, because that is not good. It means have an early night. Anyway, but also if you wear makeup, making sure you clean your makeup brushes regularly. Obviously washing your face at daytime and nighttime. What other things can I think of? Obviously, there's all that kind of stuff that everybody knows. Having clean pillowcases as well, that's one thing that not many people think of. So try and clean your pillowcases regularly, because obviously when you're sleeping, your face is on that for a good amount of time. Anyway, so there's all of that. But the thing that my best advice is, a lot of acne or spots, that kind of thing, it doesn't matter what you do with all those things. Even if you do all of those things, you will most likely, it's very common for teenagers to still have spots. And that is because of a lovely thing called hormones. And I find that I know my skin very well now. I say that my hormones are hormoning at the moment, so I do actually have a spot at the moment. Normally I'm good. I've been stopped using my spot stuff because I'm like, I'm in my 20s now, I should have grown out of that, and no, they still come back, so I'm back using my special spot cream again. But anyway, I've learnt my lesson. I thought I'd grown out of it because my skin was really good for a long time, and then I go and do this podcast episode, which is, I know, very ironic of me to say. But anyway, moving on. But again, a lot of it is down to hormones, and that, as a teenager, you can't always control. So my best advice, if you're struggling with your skin, if you can, I know in the UK, we're very lucky to have the NHS, but I know not all countries have that, and not everybody is in financial positions to go to the doctors or to the dermatologist. But if you can, please go to the doctors or go to a dermatologist if you want to sort your skin out, because there is only so much special creams and face washes and all the kind of stuff that people do in their skincare routine. There's only so much that can do. And I found that for me. If you look back at my videos, you might be like, Esme, you didn't struggle with your skin at all. And that is because I was very lucky that my parents took me to the doctors. They gave me special skin cream and stuff, and that works. That has got the magic stuff in it. That is stuff that, well, I know that in the UK you can't buy that stuff off the counter. So that's what I'd say. Go to a dermatologist or somebody who is professional. They will sort it out. So that is my best advice. There is only so much skincare can do for you. Go to the proper people. Anyway, moving on. That is my little skincare section. Next, we're going to talk about braces, because when you're a teenager, a lot of teenagers have braces. And I remember being so self-conscious because I, as a teenager, did not have very good teeth. Throughout the whole of primary school, I was like, oh, I've got great teeth, perfect. I was also, because I was always the youngest in my year group, because I am a June baby. So in the UK, our school terms work from September to kind of July, August. So I was always like one of the youngest in my year group. So I found that I was like the last to lose my baby teeth. I was always like one of the shortest, always the youngest. Oh, that was one thing when all of my friends were learning to drive, and they were like, oh, have you passed your provisional license, wait, what's it called? Yeah, your provisional, where you do like the little test. God, Esme, it really wasn't that long ago, girl. You should know what it's called. But you know when you do like your theory test. Have you passed your theory test yet? And I was like, I'm not even old enough to take it. I'm still 16, because in the UK you have to be 17 to learn to drive. But anyway, I remember like even stuff like that. Being the youngest, if you're also the youngest in your year group at school, my heart goes out to you, because I know what it's like. It's not always the most fun. But anyway, moving back to, braces. I remember I was actually one of the first people in my year group to get braces. I was the first girl to get braces. There was like one or two boys that I think had braces, but I was the first girl, which felt like a big thing because none of the other girls had braces. And I was like, ooh. But things that made me feel better about my teeth were I knew that my teeth were going to get fixed. And I know that sounds mean, but when I tell you my teeth, and if you have bad teeth at the moment, I don't want you to feel bad, but I had no teeth, basically. I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but I have a little fun fact for you all. I have a fake tooth. I've probably said this in a few podcasts now. It's like my little random fun fact. You know, with like icebreakers, when people were like, oh, Esme, what's your fun fact? And I'm like, I have a fake tooth. But anyway, that is because for some reason, my baby teeth just did not grow through. My adult teeth, sorry. And that is because my adult teeth, one of them just didn't grow through. So anyway, I do have another adult tooth, which is very small, that has been built up because it was so small. So that's why I had to have, in year 6 at school, so my last year of primary school, I had to have 4 of my baby teeth taken out. And I was so sad because I was like always so proud of having such good teeth. Like I never had any fillings. I always looked after them so well because when I was a kid, my mum was like, when your adult teeth come through, these are going to be your old lady's teeth because you are going to have these teeth until you're an old lady. So you better look after them. So I think maybe I have some sort of fear instilled into me to make sure I look after my teeth. But anyway, it's a good fear to have. Anyway, so I remember being really sad because I literally had no teeth. I had all my front 4 ones taken out. I remember being a vampire one year for Halloween and literally having no canines. So that was quite funny. But anyway, I just had my 2 front teeth, which were they were so wide apart that I could fit a pencil through them. So if anybody feels bad about their teeth, don't worry. When you're an adult, you can hopefully have, well, I'd say my teeth are rather nice. I'm happy with my teeth. But anyway, don't worry. If you're insecure about anything, being a teenager, I'm sorry, I'm just going to break it to you, but most people as a teenager go through, I don't want to be mean to younger Esme, but I had a bit of an ugly phase, and that's okay because I would describe it as I was in my cocoon phase. You know how like a caterpillar, you start off as like a little kid, you're a caterpillar, and then as a teenager, you basically become into your cocoon. And then when you become an adult, you become a beautiful butterfly. Wow, what a metaphor. What a metaphor. Anyway, moving on. But most people, if you ask all my friends, they're like, yeah, when I was a teenager, I went through a stage where I looked a bit rough, but that's okay. That's okay. Everyone has it. And I often find, just saying, if you as a teenager have a stage where you don't feel your best, when I tell you, you are going to have the biggest blow up. You're going to have the people that, you know, oh my goodness. There are some people that I look at when we were like my friends, we all had the biggest glow up. So anyway, don't worry. You're going to be cool. Also, most people I find who peaked in secondary school, or like they had their best time when they were a teenager, they're not having that now in their 20s, you know? So that's another thing that we're going to get onto later. But also, I found that when I was a teenager, I was very self-conscious. I cared a lot about how I looked and all that kind of stuff. When at the end of the day, again, what I said, people don't care as much as you think. Even if the bullies at school are mean to you, because I had that. I had some people that were very mean to me at school and said some very horrible things to me. And that made me very upset. But I tell you what, it's made me a better person. I have very thick skin. So when people on the internet tell me nasty things, I don't care. Because do you know what I learned at secondary school? People that are mean to you, they are often mean to you because they are so insecure in themselves. They try and put other people down to make them feel better about themselves. Because actually, they probably hate themselves so much. And they might seem like the most confident person, you know, the mean popular girl. But actually, she's probably not very happy. And you know what? Happy people don't make other people unhappy. So that's a little bit of advice to you. And also, one thing that I knew, although, you know, I might have been going through a bit of a rough stage where I was trying to figure out my skin and I had braces and all that kind of stuff, I knew that deep down I was a good person. And that, to me, means more than how I look. Because at the end of the day, there are some things that you can't control. And that's just life. That's just life. And I knew that although I wasn't happy with how I looked, at least I wasn't horrible like that mean girl that was horrible to me and other people and said horrible things. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Be a good person. And that's all that matters anyway. So moving on, I'm going back to my little checklist. That got really deep really quickly. So don't worry, we're going to make it lighthearted again. So we've done skincare, braces. We're going to go on to FOMO next, because as a teenager, FOMO is a big thing. If you don't know what FOMO is, it's the fear of missing out, which if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that my horse Joey, he has a major case of FOMO. He hates when the other horses get attention and he doesn't. He thinks the world revolves around him. But anyway, FOMO as a teenager is something that actually, I think that's when I kind of realised what that was. And I think social media has definitely heightened that, because you can see what other people are doing at the weekend. You can see, like, I remember not being invited to something, and all of my friends, all of the people in my class were like posting about it and that kind of thing. I wasn't invited, and I felt so left out. I felt so like I was missing out on this like party and that kind of thing. And so I say FOMO can be tricky, but also one thing that I did learn, which is a tricky thing to process, but in secondary school, if you don't get invited to things, or if those people are not nice to you, they are not your friends. And there might be a stage where you have no friends. I had no friends when I started secondary school because I was bullied in primary school. And then when I started secondary school, my confidence was so low and I was so quiet that I really struggled to make friends, because I was just absolutely petrified of talking to people in case they were mean to me or horrible to me. So I just kind of kept myself to myself, and I only had one friend by the end of year 7. So I don't want to scare anybody going into secondary school, because for me, that jump was very big. I also went from a small little primary school where everybody kind of got along to a secondary school where there was definitely a hierarchy. And it was also a grammar school as well. So I was there on a discount on a scholarship when there were a lot of people that lived a very different life to how I kind of grew up. And I found that quite a lot to deal with at the same time as well. I remember starting secondary school and a few girls had iPhones, which back in 2012 I started secondary school. Having an iPhone, which was like £1,000 phone, which they are still like £1,000 now, but I think a lot more people, it's more common to have one. I remember being like, oh my goodness. I had a little purple Nokia flip phone, which was probably £30 most on pay as you go. So I remember being like, oh my goodness, these people are in a different what's the phrase that people say? These people are in a different tax bracket to me, but you know what I mean. I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember one girl just smashing it and getting a new one the next day, and I was like, what anyway. So that was also another reason why I was very shy, kept myself to myself. But I made friends eventually, and I made my we had a little gang of weirdos, and I loved it. We were so wholesome. And you know what? I found a lot of the time, I'm going to call them the popular girls, even though we had like kind of three tiers of popularity in my school. We had our gang, which was the gang of weirdos and the gang of nerds, because I did very kind of like STEM subjects at school. So I did triple science, maths, English, that kind of thing. So a lot of the time, like in my physics class, there were no other girls. So I made friends with a lot of the boys that were very nerdy. I'd play Minecraft with them. So, I was really cool at school, if you couldn't tell. But we had a little gang of weirdos, and I loved it. We were great. We had great laughs, great fun. Everyone was nice to each other. And the popular girls, I remember they would always like to hang out in the changing rooms for some reason. Or like the girls' toilets. I remember going in there and like hearing all of them like chatting about this other girl that was in their group, and they were so horrible, like not even like to us, but they were horrible to their own quote unquote friends. So there are a lot of fake people in that top popular group, and I found that there was like a middle group that were nice to us in the weirdo group, but also would not be nice to you if you were next to a popular person, because they would want to try and suck up to the popular people and try and be like, yeah, we're really cool. I would call them the floaters, because they would kind of float around groups, which actually, thinking about it, this sounds meaner because it sounds like I'm saying that they're poos in a toilet. But anyway, I called them floaters because they would float about, they would float over to our group, like they would come and sit with me if they were, I don't know, in my maths class, and try and be nice to me because they had nobody else to chat to basically, and then they would like try and be friends with the popular girls and try and get invited to the parties and be cool with them and mean to other people. So it was a very weird dynamic. I know that most schools are probably bigger than my ones, so there were probably a lot more groups, and there were definitely subgroups within the different categories. Like in our little gang of weirdos, a lot of us were horse girls, so there we go. But also in our little gang of weirdos, we had like the kind of nerdy group as well. So anyway, that was how I was at school popularity wise, if you want to know. But yeah, sorry, going back to FOMO. So yes, fear of missing out. I often found as you get older, life gets busier. And if you ride horses, you probably would have had this before, where there are two different things happening on one weekend, and you can only pick one of the two. And first off, what a lovely position to be in. If you have two exciting things that you're invited to, but you can only pick one, how lovely is that? Just, think of the positives. You either have a horse show that you can go to, or your friend's party that you can go to, or maybe you have the choice between a friend's party or like a family gathering. And I can't tell you if you had the choice between the two which to pick, but if it's your granddad's birthday or your friend's having a party, there are so many more parties that there could be in the future. Your granddad is only going to have so many birthdays. Spend time, if you still have grandparents around, spend time with them while you can. Go to the family things, because those people might not be around forever. There will be future parties that I'm not, this sounds really mean, but I'm not friends with every single person that I was friends with at secondary school. Those people, you might move on to nicer, better friends as you grow up. That party, like I went to a few parties and things back in the day. I can't really remember them that much. Teenage parties, they come across as the biggest, hottest, coolest thing. Be there, be square. You're going to miss out if you're not there. But at the end of the day, when I look back at my teenagehood, I mean, I was never much of a party person. Look at me. Do I look like a party person? I like to be in my bed by 9 p.m, reading my book with a cup of tea. I was never a wild child. I was a horse girl who loved her horses and would much rather go to a horse show or go to pony club than be up until late at night, because I would just fall asleep, honestly. You know there's that meme, and it's
Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs, like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you, or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
That post, and it's like me having non-verbal time with the pet at the party. That is me anyway, and that's okay. And also, if that's not your thing, you don't have to go to those things. Don't do things that you're not ready for, and don't do things that you don't want to do, because at the end of the day, life is short. But sometimes, you know, go to the family party, even if it doesn't sound like the most fun thing in the world. Spend time with your family, because family is so important. But anyway, that is to me anyway. Moving on. So FOMO. At the end of the day, be grateful that you have 2 awesome things that you're invited to and you can pick. And if you're not invited to them, don't worry. There are nicer, lovelier people out there that will invite you to parties. You just haven't found your friends yet. And that's okay, because that happened to little Esme, and big Esme now has some of the most incredible friendships. So don't worry, you just haven't found your people yet. Being cool and fitting in. Oh my gosh, okay. Being cool and fitting in. Oh, young Esme, actually, I think young Esme was actually, she didn't care that much. I remember starting secondary school and everyone having this type of bag, and I didn't have that type of bag. And I was like, oh my gosh, if only I had a big sister who could have told me, oh, you need to get this bag and this kind of school shoes to fit in and be cool. And I'm trying to think of past fashion trends that everybody, actually, yeah, I've thought of one. So one thing when you're a teenager is, I think fashion trends have changed actually a lot since I was younger. And I think a lot of that is due to social media. There are a lot of micro trends out there where something's maybe fashionable for a season and then it goes out of fashion. And I would say, if you wouldn't wear something last season, but it's fashionable now, don't just buy something or wear something because everyone else is wearing it. I think the thing for me that was like a real staple, I think this is a UK thing, everybody had a pair of Adidas Superstars in 2016, I think it was. So, and I remember being like, you know what? I prefer my Converses. I'm going to wear my Converses because, I mean, a lot of people did also wear Converses back then. But I just never got the hype of the Adidas Superstars, never had them, and that's okay. You know, actually, one thing that I was so proud of myself, or I'm not proud, I felt like such a trendsetter because back in the day, everyone wanted this camo green or olive green parka jacket. And I was one of the first people to have it. I remember it was from Fat Face back in the day, big up Fat Face. But I think there was a new look one that I think more people had. But I remember having that and I thought it was the coolest jacket. And then everyone started wearing it and I was like, oh, I don't feel as cool anymore. This isn't my little special jacket that I like to wear. Everyone else is wearing it. So again, I would say actually some of the coolest people I know, they wear things that other people don't. So don't just follow trends to fit in. Be yourself. And also as a teenager, if you like something, for example, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a specific thing here. I'm trying to think of something that's really trendy that loads of people wore that isn't really as fashionable now. Like mesh tops. That was the thing in 2020. I mean, I was never really one on that hype because I didn't want to walk around half naked because that's just not my style. But anyway, if you like something, don't just spend all your money on it. because you never know. You might grow out of things or phases and be like, you know what? That isn't quite me anymore. Because you change a lot as a teenager. You go through different phases. I didn't go through like an emo phase, but I went through a phase where I wore a lot of blue. That was like my signature colour. I mean, you guys know I've always liked matchy. Then I got to a stage where I was like, you know what? I don't want to just wear blue. I want to wear other colours, but half my wardrobe was just blue. So yeah, don't go all in on something. Experiment, be yourself. And also, the whole of being a teenager, you're just like, who am I? And that is okay, because tell you what, when you go into your 20s, you're probably still asking that question a little bit. I definitely am sometimes. I think now I'm getting to 25, which apparently is the big stage where your brain fully develops and you're just like, yep, I know everything about life now. I'm still waiting for that day. I think my frontal lobe is developing, but I've definitely grown a lot in the last year. That is definitely for sure. I've grown up a lot as a person. But if you're still trying to figure out what you want to do in your life, who you are, don't worry. That's going to continue in your 20s. So good luck. But as a teenager, it's all about discovering who you are. But the most important thing is you keep your morals. You know the inside, that you're a good person. You do good things. And I'd say that's the most important thing. And it's okay if you go through an awkward phase, because you can look back at it and you're like, that was when I was figuring myself out. And we all go through that stage. So yeah, don't worry about being cool, because all of the people that were cool in secondary school are no longer cool now. And I don't want to say that I'm cool, because at the end of the day, I'm a horse girl who does social media. That is like the weirdest of weird. But I've been able to do some pretty cool things with my job and with my life, and I wasn't cool at secondary school, and being cool at secondary school isn't the be all and end all. Actually, the coolest people I know don't even try to be cool. They're just, they just vibe in their own place. And that's something I definitely learnt in the later stages of being a teenager, because I had a lot of people take the mick out of me for doing YouTube and for doing social media, because it wasn't the cool thing back then. It was what the weirdos on the internet did, If you were cool, you didn't talk to a camera. You had a lot of friends to talk to. So just putting that out there, when now everybody wants to be an influencer. Everyone makes short format content because it's a lot more accessible, because most people have a smartphone now. They can film and edit on and that kind of thing. Back in the day, if you did YouTube, you were not cool. You were a weirdo, and you had people take the mick out of you, being like, oh, what's in your bag? Oh, what video are you doing this week, Esme? Oh, you filming with your horses? Oh, that's so cute. Oh, they're your only friends. So anyway, sorry, we got a bit too deep then. But bring back some bad memories there. But no, honestly, just do you. And if you enjoy what you do, even if that's maybe a little bit babyish or a little bit weird. Also, I came to the realization the other day, I was thinking about this. Especially teenage girls, I'm going to include teenage boys as well, because if you listen to the podcast, then welcome. You're part of our little group of weirdos. But anyway, if whatever you do as a teenager, you can have the mick taken out of you for whatever you do. Oh, you're a dancer, or you do dance. Oh, that's so basic. That's such like a girly thing to do. Oh, you play football, or you play soccer and you're a girl. Oh, you're just trying to, be one of the boys, or trying to impress the boys. Oh, you listen to Taylor Swift. Oh, you're so basic. Oh, you listen to like rock. Oh, you're trying too hard and you're trying to impress people. Like whatever you do, you can have the mick taken out of you. If you enjoy horse riding, I think a lot of people that listen to my podcast enjoy horses or horse riding or that kind of thing. You know what it's like. You can get the mick taken out of you. When you become an adult though, and you enjoy riding horses or taking care of horses, that becomes a cool thing. Because I tell you what, this sounds really, really sad, but most of my friends that are in their 20s don't have hobbies that are girls. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have... I get it. A lot of people, they go to uni, they're busy on the uni grind, trying to get a first or well in their degree and their dissertation, and then they go to work and then they're on the work grind and they're trying to save money, go to the gym and get fit and eat healthy and doing everything as an adult. It never feels like there's enough hours in the day. But I do think it's so sad that a lot of people, when they get to their 20s, they just give up on hobbies because they're not going to be a professional at that. Like, I know so many of my friends they gave up on horse riding because they were like, well, I'm not going to get to the Olympics. You know, I only got so far in pony club. I can't improve the levels anymore because either financially they didn't have the money to get more horsepower or go to more shows or more expensive shows, or they didn't have the time because they were going to uni and they couldn't care, like, have the time to care for a horse anymore. And I think that's so sad that people, like, there are so many ways that you can still be with horses and keep horses as a hobby. For example, volunteering at your local RDA. I know a lot of like rehoming and rescue centres are always looking for people to like help walk dogs or help look after horses, depending on the animal shelter and what animals they have. I know, which is something that you can maybe do like once a week or once every fortnight if you don't have the time. I know that a lot of universities, they have riding teams. So if you go to uni, go and join a riding team. You don't have to be the best at something to do something. And I think that's something that definitely as a teenager, I felt a lot of pressure from like my pony club, like to move up the levels, do the next competition. And it's okay to do things just for fun. You don't have to be the best at something, and you don't have to be like an Olympic sports person, or if you're a if you enjoy musical instruments, you don't have to get to grade 8 and get your diploma or whatever it's called. I can't remember. I used to play the clarinet back in the day. But you don't have to, you know, be the best at things to enjoy things. And that is definitely something that I've learnt in my 20s. So maybe I should do it. Maybe once I'm 30, God, how many podcast episodes will we be on by then, by the time I turn 30? And oh my gosh, that's quite scary. I don't want to think about that. That's what, 6.5 years away, 7 years away. Anyway, we're going to move on. But maybe after I finish my 20s, I can do a 20s advice, because I'm kind of going into that a little bit now. But anyway, what else do I feel like I've been chatting for a long time. We've gone on lots of tangents. Oh, this is the last one. Your parents as a teenager are going to annoy you. My dad is laughing right now. Parents, if you listen to this and you're about to have a teenager, prepare yourself for battle. Prepare for war. No, it's not that bad. I don't know. I'm not a parent of a teenager yet. I'll have to ask my dad on this one. I feel like I was quite a good teenager. Yeah, he's giving a thumbs up. I was a little bit grumpy sometimes, but you know what? What do you mean I still am grumpy? It's only when I'm hungry, okay? That doesn't count. That doesn't count on the list of grumpiness. Anyway, moving on. Your parents as a teenager are going to annoy you. And that is normal. Because when you are a teenager, you're growing up. And part of growing up is one day you're going to have to fly the nest. You're going to have to say bye to your parents if that's when you're 18, or maybe when you're older. You might go off to university. You might move out, whatever. And that is normal because it's part of growing up, because you can live with your parents forever. I'm sure they might not actually like that. I don't know. Ask them. But you will get to a stage where you're like, okay, I'm ready to move out. I'm ready to move on. That's a long way if you're 13. Don't worry. You're okay. You're okay. But it's normal. And it's part of like your biology to just find your parents annoying, especially when they tell you what to do and all this stuff. And then you think you're old enough, and then they put rules in place. And you know what? You just got to think to yourself, when your parents are really annoying you, this is normal. It's part of growing up. And you know what? I can guarantee you that if your parents are being annoying, they are annoying you with love. Okay? You got to think, they are so annoying right now, but it's because they love me and they want what's best for me. So when they tell you, go to bed early, eat your vegetables, or I don't know, do your homework, it comes from a place of It comes from a place of love, because they want the best for you. And I know it's annoying, but you got to just remember that, okay? But also, your parents don't think that they're cleverer than you, okay? Because I remember having this conversation with my dad, now I'm older, and finding it really, really fascinating. They are telling you these things, and they're telling you to do these things, giving you this advice. You get a lot of advice when you're a teenager, I tell you that, and I'm sorry, I've just done a whole podcast of giving you advice, so if you find me annoying now, I'm sorry, okay? I want what's best for you, I'm trying to give you some help here. But they don't think they're cleverer than you. They have just lived more life. And, you know, you actually might be cleverer than them. You might have a higher IQ than them, but they've been on this planet probably twice as long as you have, and there is one thing that you can't get from just being clever with an IQ, and it just comes with time and that is experience. They have grown up, they have talked to lots of different people, they have seen lots of things happen, they have seen or heard quite a lot of bad things happen, if that's in the news or things that they've experienced. So if they're worried about you and they're setting maybe like a curfew or like you need to be back by that time, it comes from a place of love, because they don't want you to get in danger, they don't want you to get hurt, they want you to be safe. And if you own a pet, maybe that's a dog, a guinea pig, a rabbit, a goldfish, you have a lot of love for them. Now, if you could imagine that times 1,000,000, that is how your parents feel about you, because just the thought of you being upset or unhappy or hurt, that would destroy them. So that is why they are being so annoying, because they want you to be happy and safe. So just remember that when you're like, oh my gosh, my mum has opened my curtains in the morning. She's telling me all the things that I need to do before I go to school. I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. And like, she's just really annoying me. Just think, it comes from a place of love. And just feel grateful that you have somebody that loves you that much. And on that note, we are going to finish off today's podcast episode here. I hope this hasn't been too rambly. And I hope that maybe this has given you some advice if you're going to be a teenager, or you're a teenager at the moment, or maybe if you have been a teenager before, or you're now an adult, you can look back on this and be like, oh, actually, we were all really a bit awkward and weird at that stage, and it wasn't just me. Or maybe that was just me and I've just exposed myself. But either way, I hope you feel better about yourself after listening to today's podcast episode. And you know what? If it helped you, send it and share it to a teenage friend or somebody that you know. Or if you just found it interesting and found it funny laughing at my struggles, then send it to someone fun. Also, we have comments now on the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. So if you have any funny teenage stories, let me know them in the comments, because I'd love to read through them. I love the little community we've built up on here. But anyway, on that note, I really should finish it now, because I've been chatting for way too long. But I just want to say another huge thank you to Red Post for sponsoring the podcast. Go and check out their Win It Wednesdays, and I'll see you all next time for another episode. Bye.